So for those of you not in the know, a woman by the name of Anita Carcesian has created a video series discussing certain topics within video gaming. This created some controversy. So as a level-headed and intellectual individual, I decided to take it upon myself to see what she and her co-writer had to say about these things. So here we are with me creating an entire lecture series on how her video series is extremely retarded, and yet this comes with a massive asterisk because you can't argue with her. There are a few people who have done so without resorting to bigotry and their own flavor of retardation, but this is not the majority of cases, which forces me to do this video first in order to prove that I'm not some disgusting sexist who hates women. Either way, I'm just talking about stupid people convincing other stupid people on the internet of whatever, so really it doesn't matter to me, but it would have been nice just to simply jump into her videos. So I ended up writing this long-ass script for this video a while back, but never really got around to doing the rest of the work for it, and since she just started into her latest segment that actually had some legitimate claims of sexism in it, I thought it was time to bust this out again. But I don't want to spend all that time working on something that only a few people will see, so I thought I'd rewrite the entire thing, break it into a bunch of different videos, giving you more content to watch and letting me work on it a little bit at a time. So the first page or so was dedicated to me bashing the stupid people who hated her for having ovaries, and some of them were pretty high-profile people with the assumption they happened to be intelligent, but that was just a ruse. But instead of treading down these roads that will cause a lot of hate to be thrown my way, and that wouldn't be all that bad, instead, I'm going to discuss the Quinspiracy, something that might bring so much more hate, but I think it's more appropriate example for the incompetence of the average dissenter against Anita's points. And this is just a heads up, but in case you really hate Anita, and you become upset because of this video, I ask you to wait for me to cover Anita's videos, because for how mean I'm about to be is nothing compared to what's coming her way. So when I first tried to watch this video, I didn't get all that far into it before I had to stop. It was rather inept, and my anger towards whoever this was for degrading the rules of argumentation was greater than how much I was laughing at their incompetence. So unless the ending of this video was some profound bit of truth, it wasn't going to win me over in the slightest. But that shit is 2 hours long, and I'm not having that, so we're going to go over the shorter video. The very first thing we are shown is wrong, and I'm not exactly sure why. Now, I like Jesse Ventura, but he has been shown to be misinformed on several different occasions, which means this is either a very funny, as I'm about to debunk much of this video, meaning this reference is rather apt, or this is sad because it's neither funny nor is it remotely necessary, as you are wasting my time.
If these past 7 days have taught us anything, it's that the Streisand effect is a very real thing.
No, I'm pretty sure that the incident with Streisand is what proved that the Streisand effect was real. But enough of that, we have to talk about the intellectually dishonest elephant in the room. Now, if you don't know what he's talking about, it's the Gamergate incident, which I find hilarious because every aspect of it was extremely retarded. But the first part about games journalism being corrupt is correct, but also an unnecessary statement, as everyone who has been paying attention knew about this years beforehand, and this is just it going mainstream. Now, with that being very real, this gentleman attempts to force his arguments to fit into the well-established and backed-up claims that game journalism is corrupt, and this doesn't work. Not only is his position unfounded, but there is only superficial at best connections between these two events. Zoe sleeping around really doesn't correlate with publishers forcing reviewers to review their games the way they want them to be reviewed. Because even if she did fuck some guys in order to get some more coverage for her game, that is not the same, and I shouldn't have to explain that fact. Now, if she actually fucked dudes for coverage, then you do in fact have a slight argument. But attempting to prop it up with the first wave of Gamergate is extremely fallacious and lazy. It's so inept that you're bringing up the fact that 4chan and Reddit worked together to discuss and investigate the Gamergate incident, and instead of acknowledging that most of that was discussing the actual Shadow of Mordor incident, you're showcasing this as the entirety of the internet coming together to prove Zoe fucked some dudes. Way to undermine all those people and their investigations. This entire propping up thing lasts 3 minutes, and not even once is the idea floated around that maybe these companies that have to deal with these ravenous people might think they're sexist assholes, and they just want nothing to do with this toxic shit. Alright, now that you're actually presenting an argument for your claims, let's see how you manage to fuck it up.
Now, Stephen Totilo first went to Twitter and then on to Kotaku itself to address this. Now, this is important for a few reasons, but I think the most important one is the fact that this is a third party who, through their conversation with Nathan Grayson himself, can establish that the ex-boyfriend's account of him and Zoe having a relationship is in fact true.
Okay, this is where having the ability to read makes winning arguments easy to do. Now I'm going to admit I know very little about the actual details of the Quinspiracy because it's so fucking stupid it doesn't matter, but at the very least I can at least infer based on the arguments and evidence being presented. This wall of text, if read, at least how it's being presented in this video, goes against what is being said. Now maybe the article has nothing to do with anything, but that just means at best 2 people dated sometime after a random article was written. He then moves on to some very retarded speech about conflict of interest, which is a term I am certain he doesn't even know the definition of. So this writer did an article about a game jam that happened to have Zoe and a bunch of other people in it, and then shortly after started a relationship with her. He then never writes anything about her again. Saying this is having a conflict of interest is the same as me making this video defending Zoe is me having a conflict of interest because I once dated a girl. Yeah, sure, if you're putting your tinfoil hat on and going full retard, yes, it is in fact a conflict of interest. Now to clarify things, I don't give 2 shits about Zoe or any of this shit. But something I do care about is the fact that you're making me look bad. And no, not as a male, fuck that. By you being as uneducated and lacking any form of critical thinking, you are making me and every other human being look fucking bad by comparison, and it's upsetting to me. Stop it. Or are you seriously going to keep referencing the ex's documents as if there's no possible way there can be any conflict of interest in them?
And that he's romantically involved with somebody he's written about, and that may cause a conflict of interest later on. That you had to confront him after this information came out. And that you think there's nothing else to really be looked at, and that Nathan really doesn't need to be, persecuted by you or others or us as the gaming public.
The fuck is wrong with you? There is no way with the language you have been using up until this point and the context within that very sentence that you mean the second and therefore softer definition of that term. The fuck is wrong with you?
You know, Zoe Quinn and the 5 guys. Zoe Quinn has alleged relationships with different people in the industry, and these people may or may not have helped her career out.
Well, here's a side point that I'm sure you can't prove. How did fucking these 5 guys help her career? No, really, please tell me because I don't think it's possible. And don't you even think about bringing up the fact that Oppression Quest is on Steam. Motherfuckers, that shit is free, and even if it wasn't, getting onto Steam Greenlight isn't that hard. And I know someone is going to bring up something about her getting money or something. Bitch, I said career. Listen to me when I tell you to do something. It's been years since this shit went through. Where is she now? Still a no-name developer that no one even knows exists except for people like you, which I am now seeing as a sexist bitch.
Well, excuse me if that comes off as incredibly disingenuous. Excuse me if that comes off as seeming like you're covering your ass and you don't want to have to really look into things. Now, I want to start off by establishing the bias that Kotaku and Rock Paper Shotgun have when it comes to sex scandals.
Remember that thing about using unrelated crap to prop up your sorry-ass arguments? Yeah, you're doing it again. I don't care about any biases from Kotaku. It's a website that no one should be getting their information from, hence the reason I don't go there.
For the avoidance of doubt, anyone who posts on RPS anything about the private lives of anyone will be instantly banned. I am so horrified by the treatment of Zoe Quinn and the despicable hypocrisy of these foul bigots who pretend to care about ethics. Well, fuck you, John Walker.
Okay, let me take off my bias glasses and let's think about this, shall we? Now, I'm sure in your mind you've mixed up some facts and some definitions and some common sense in order to convolute something this simple, but I will try my best to explain it. Whether or not Zoe fucked those guys really doesn't matter for Zoe when it comes to this pseudo-ethics discussion you're having. Now, it could potentially create a conflict of interest, but it wouldn't be a conflict for Zoe. Only the people covering her games would be considered having said conflict of interest. Now, this will be hard for you, but that means you're just interested in the men Quinn had fucked for whatever reason. Whether it's because you want to expose the benefits of a relationship and therefore the actual conflict of interest that are degrading journalism, or it's because you're a fucking sexist bitch and you're bothering with this because she's a woman. Either way, you're delving into her personal life, which is the reason I hate tabloids. And so here's the big distinction. Who Zoe sleeps with, at the very least for Zoe herself, is in fact a private matter, and the rape allegations, which is a criminal offense, is not a personal matter, but in fact a legal matter. This is you comparing apples to tigers and then trying to convince others that it's apples to apples. So no, fuck you, and castrate yourself so you don't spread your stupid around. If this was a bit more complicated, I could understand fucking it up a bit more, but it's not. You're a bigoted piece of shit who lacks the most basic sense of logic, and because of that, you're forcing me to spend my precious time telling people that you're a damned idiot when I could be mocking Anita right now.
Quinn. I find that interesting because in the records that are provided by the ex-boyfriend, Zoe Quinn admits to raping him. This is a screenshot from the blog post, the Zoe post.
Okay, I don't remember this, and this is so fucking sad. Ignoring that all of these screenshots can be easily photoshopped, meaning you have proved nothing, your claim, which is that Zoe raped her boyfriend, backfired so fucking hard. Just because Zoe subscribes to a heavily altered definition of rape and consent means absolutely nothing in a courtroom. You didn't prove that she raped her ex, and all you've established is that she's stupid, and that means shit compared to the fact that you're calling her a rapist when she clearly isn't. And then, what you are showing isn't even from something that she herself had typed, you lazy asshole. So for all I know, he photoshopped the altered definition and the messages. Damn, dude, let me skip some of this shit. This is taking forever. Oh, fucking hell. I should have talked about that shit from the guy from God of War, but it'd just be reinforcing points I've already made, and I don't want to do it. So if I haven't convinced you yet that this shortened video that was supposed to compress all the good information into like one solid thing that was supposed to get you to go wasn't stupid as crap, I'm not going to convince you. But I want to talk about one other thing because we have to talk about it. Let's just pretend that it's all true. That she slept with all those guys, that she faked all the harassment in order to get the game on Steam. I then have to ask, what did all that accomplish? And what does that mean for the rest of us? If a person, a human being, is so willing to do so much to manipulate and cheat, and all of this just to fuck her way to the bottom of the success train, what the actual fuck does that mean for us? So either the group of you are lying cunts, or all of humanity doesn't deserve to survive because one of us is so pathetic that she's willing to fuck her way into getting nothing, which means we're all nothing more than stupid monkeys. With that little rant out of the way, we have to ask ourselves another question. If it is true, we then have to ask which is more sad. The fact that it was so easy for this to come out and that she is such a horrible human being, or the fact that we had to react like bigoted assholes and not like the intellectuals that we all can be. Now I know I have no clue whether this shit is true or not, but I do know that even if she happened to fake the attacks during her Kickstarter campaign, Anita did get real backlash for her video series, and it was of the sexist kind. The proof is still there, and I've seen it firsthand, trying to bunk that shit. And just so you know, this is all your fault. No one would have known about Anita if it wasn't for you stupid dicks making this a thing, and I wouldn't have to spend my winter vacation arguing against a video series because no one could hold in their fucking tiny balls to actually critique her without bringing sex into the equation. This is not hard, guys, and you don't have to stoop so low in order to prove these people are either dishonest or stupid. Hence why it was so easy for me to debunk this mindless garbage. And for some real upbeat news before I return to my lair in order to prepare for the Anita video and continue mocking Ruby, here is something real that could actually affect you. Because even if the Quinn thing was real, it doesn't affect you even in the slightest. So right now, a trial is being held in Canada in which a man was arrested for saying the most benign tweet possible, and because one of the people involved had connections with the Mounties, there is now a chance that someone you might just despise could ruin free speech for Canada, if not all of the Americas. Now I'm not going to spell this out for you. Go to the description and there are links that will take you to some of the stuff on this, and I'm hoping this will put some shit into perspective for you. Be logical, fight important fights, and shut the fuck up about things that don't matter. They put fluoride in your drinking water, fight for your constitutional rights, and stop whining about who Zoe fucks, and maybe your life will have some meaning to it.